If you could draft any 4 Chicago Bears icons, who you got? Find out who we have in the first ever Halas Huddle snake draft.
Huddle up! Huddle up, Halas Huddlers. We got a fun episode for you guys tonight. We are doing a 4-man snake draft where we are going to pick 4 icons, 4 legends, basically whoever we decide represents this team the best. And you guys are going to go to the comments section and you guys are going to vote for who has the best draft.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. It's a fun format to get discussion going, hopefully some spirited debates about who we like, who we don't like. But at the end of the day, 16 Bears legends are going to get drafted today. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about it.
We couldn't have done it without bringing in a special guest, though. So Peter's joining us. Peter, do you want to tell the Halas Huddlers where you're from?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I am Peter, also known as Baloney on the internet. I am a Chicago sports bum. We host a podcast on Monday nights, the Bumcast. We talk sports and drink whiskey. We are very White Sox heavy right now, but in the fall, we predominantly talk Bears. And I know you guys have been guests on our podcast, so I'm happy to reciprocate. I'm happy to be on. This is an exciting. I love snake drafts. We do a couple of them. I've done a couple of them with a couple other friends. I like these type of format shows. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we are excited to have you, Peter. Peter, by the way, is the #1 Cole Kmet fan. He runs the fan club. I have put him in that position over the last year. So
why are you spoiling his first pick?
Oh, yeah, that's true. We just talked about no tipping picks, and now that is false. That is false for the Halas Huddlers listening. I've been very critical of Cole Kmet in the past. He has been better of late, but early in his career, I was very critical of him. And it sounds like Ben Johnson was pretty critical on him during OTAs. He was getting yelled at, so maybe Ben Johnson sees something that I was seeing way back when.
You only yell if you care.
Exactly.
All right. Well, as we said, we're going to pick the 4 best Chicago Bears icons, and pre-show we decided what the draft order was going to be. It wasn't like, people didn't get to pick what slot they wanted, but we picked the order, and then you got to pick which slot you wanted. So Peter picked the first slot, Bob picked the second slot, I picked the 4th slot, and Justin got stuck with the 3rd slot. So, I don't know exactly how that music goes off the top of my head, but Peter, you are on the clock at 1.01.
All right. How much do I have? I'm going to run this clock out until the very last second. That's a lie.
5 seconds.
That is a lie.
Everybody else gets 10 minutes.
When we did the draft order, I thought about going 4th because I didn't want to do pick 1 and then wait until pick 8. But realistically, if we're talking franchise icons, you can't go. I mean, we're not going to tip picks, but it was one of 2 people. And I'm going Papa Bear. I'm going Papa Bear Halas. I think you have to start there. He literally is the franchise. GSH is on the jersey. The NFC Championship trophy is named after him. He's got his literally a century of history nowadays. So I think we have to start the conversation with George Papa Bear Halas and then go from there.
You knew the show you were coming on. I mean, look, it's in the name, Halas Huddle. You don't have the Halas Huddle if you don't have Papa Bear. So got to respect that pick.
Yeah, and us as the Chicago sports bums, we are almost too critical of Chicago sports owners. And we've been very critical of the McCaskey family. But before it got to the McCaskey family, obviously it was George Papa Bear Halas, and he has a winning history, a rich winning history. So I feel like if podcasts exist back then, we wouldn't be as critical as we are of a Jerry Reinsdorf or a Michael Reinsdorf or, McCaskey family nowadays.
Yeah, and Halas is just the original legend. I mean, the NFL wouldn't exist without him, let alone the Bears wouldn't exist without him. I mean, he was a player, he was a head coach for forever, and it's because of the team that they had in those early to mid 80s it seems like maybe they were okay without him for a little bit, but it's really once his leadership was gone, this franchise really kind of tanked as well. So, I mean, he is as worthy of a 1-1 in this type of draft as there could be.
I say he's worthy of a first-round pick, but Peter, you said there was 2, and I think you just went the wrong way. I really do. I think you might have just ruined your whole entire draft.
All right,
right
we'll get to that argument when the next couple picks are made, and we'll see how it goes.
I was hoping he was going to make it to me at 3, but
I mean, so we can go towards my second pick here because I think I agree 100% with Peter. Why I was so happy to just take the 2 slot. I knew there was 2 clear legends. One, you couldn't have who I'm going to take without Halas in the first place, so Halas is 1-1. But it's sweetness. It's Walter Payton. You cannot possibly say enough good things about who he was as a football player, who he was as a man. When you talk about franchise icons, it is just he is synonymous with the Bears. He's everything you want a Bear to be. NFL's career-leading rusher at the time he retired. He just had season after season after season of productivity. He could run over a guy. He could run around a guy. He could outrun a guy. He just did everything. He could throw passes, catch. Just, sweetness couldn't be a better nickname for a guy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of my favorite Bears of all time. Thought he could go number 1 in this draft. So he, before other guys came and beat some of his records, I mean, the productivity, we just did a short recently, top 10 rushing season of the Bears all time. He was 8 of them, Bob? Something like that?
Yeah, the top 8.
So incredible on the field, awesome guy in general. So no complaints here. Just wish some of these guys could make it to 3 for me. No chance.
This is like the 2022 NFL draft, and I'm pissed off about it because literally, Peter became the Jacksonville Jaguars, took Travion Walker with the George Halas pick. Now you got Bob taking Aiden Hutchinson and getting the best player in the 2022 NFL draft. I'm
shocked at the George Halas.
I know.
I'm speechless.
What are we talking about?
Okay, look, I love Papa Bear, but when
there's no wrong answer here.
No, there is.
George Halas, Trayvon Walker, come on.
I mean, Halas is worthy of a first round pick, but you can't put him over sweetness. You just can't.
That's why I was happy to go 2. I would have been blown away with either one at 2. They're great.
I guess my argument to that would be they both Halas and Sweetness scored the same amount of touchdowns in a Super Bowl, right? So there is some nitpicking to be made.
Fired.
And that wasn't a Bob shot. I apologize because I do like the pick.
No, that was perfect.
It was 1-2, but I got to defend my number 1 overall pick.
I would have gone number 1 overall. I also had Halas number 1. Peter, we're on the same page. Same page.
You guys are making me feel good that there was no chance I was getting him at 3 because I had all these things I was going to say about how you guys missed out on taking the right pick. So hopefully, though, with my number 3 pick, I'm going to be making a pick that is just as obvious. So at number 3, I'm going to go with Dick Butkus. And here's the thing. His name is Dick Butkus, and yet no one would ever consider making fun of him, right? That's already tells you part of the story there. But this goes back even before the Bears, and I'll give you guys a little history lesson here. Bears, orange and blue, right? Same orange and blue as the Fighting Illini. And if you want to go even further back, same orange and blue as my high school alma mater, Oak Park River Forest. Shout out to Oak Park River Forest. But Butkus was a legend at Illinois. Butkus was a legend with the Bears. As far as Bears fandom, you just love the guy. But as far as any team that opposed him, you feared him. Not just one of the best Bears of all time, one of the best football players of all time. After his career, got into acting and just kind of was a legend even off the field. And right up till the day he died, just still appearing on the sideline for the Bears and orange and blue all the way to his heart. So I thought that was an easy pick. So I'm happy to get him at 3. Fellas, what do you think about Dick Butkus?
I had him as a first-round pick for sure. He would have been off my board if I was picking 3rd or 4th. You can't, original monster, the Midway, maybe that moniker was around before him, but he certainly embraced it and redefined it. Just an absolute beast.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I had him in my top 4. I think it's a worthy pick. I'm glad you mentioned the off the field stuff because I have him as a legend in NBC sitcom lore. I grew up a child of the 90s. He's a fantastic basketball coach as well with Hang Time. I love that show growing up. But yeah, when you think about, Bears players, especially Bears players with a mean streak, that the type of players we love. And I was unfortunately too young to remember him playing. I assume we all were. But, you go back, you hear the stories, you watch documentaries, and it's like, yeah, he embodied Chicago.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I also had him as a first-round pick. I did have him behind where Peter and Bob took. So as much trash talking as I had about Halas, clearly I was, not too far down my list if I had him at number 2. But I will say that I had a feeling you were going to go this way, and it's the reason why when I got the option to pick my draft slot 3rd, 1 and 2 are off the board, I took the turn because it was not the guy that I had 3rd on my list. And so I'm excited that you went this direction. I'm glad that it's working out the way I wanted so far.
So you're on the clock, Rob. What
Yeah.
are we doing?
Okay, I didn't know if we wanted to talk any more about
We're
it.
waiting, bated breath.
Okay, I mean it's pretty simple. The reason that I was glad that you took Dick Butkus is because I think someone who represents the Chicago Bears in a much bigger fashion. You say you watched Hang Time, right, where he was a basketball coach and he's been in movies. But Dick Butkus isn't the vision that I get when I think of the Chicago Bears. When I think of the Chicago Bears, obviously Walter Payton comes to mind, the jumping over the end zone but never getting in the end zone thanks to Refrigerator Perry. And thanks to Mike fucking Ditka, who didn't hand the ball off to him. And that is going to be my pick at 1.04. The mustache, the sweater vest. I mean, you see it everywhere. What do people dress up at Halloween parties? They don't dress up as the 3 people you pick. They dress up as my guy. He's the guy that I just think everybody just thinks of, when they think of the Chicago Bears. It's just literally at the Super Bowl, we just watched Matthew McConaughey try to nail the Ditka, and it was absolutely fantastic. So I think I've already won the first round, guys.
It's a great pick at 4. I had him as a first round pick, and just like I had Halas and Payton 1 and 2, I had Butkus and Ditka 3 and 4. I mean, the fact that Ditka was a Hall of Fame player and then was a Super Bowl winning coach. Notice I didn't say Hall of Fame coach, but a Super Bowl winning coach. And it's just synonymous with the Bears, right? That's what a legend is. That's what an icon is. When you think of the Chicago Bears, you think of Mike Ditka. So it's clear, easy first round pick. And what I love about this first round that we just had, we've kind of established our podcast Mount Rushmore right now. So it's George Halas, Walter Payton, Dick Butkus, and Mike Ditka. I think that's a great foursome right there.
I would have been disowned had I taken Mike Ditka. My dad is not a fan. He feels that anybody could have coached that 85 Bears team to a Super Bowl. And the fact that they didn't get 2, 3, or 4 Super Bowls out of that team is a disservice to what they were. So thank goodness he didn't come around the bend, because then people would have been like, how could you not take him at 6? But
I was playing the board a little. I knew Justin was going to pass on him twice if he had the chance.
Wasn't even on my board, so...
Yeah, I think the argument could be made, and don't get me wrong, he is iconic, right? The sunglasses, the sweater, the mustache, the picture of the middle finger that's at every Chicago Bears bar. But there is an argument to be made about did he squander the prime years of the 80s Bears? And obviously we talk about the 85 Bears, and rightfully so, like they're legends and stuff. But I mean, they had some very good teams that they didn't get too far, and you could argue maybe a couple other coaches had a lot to do with that and stuff like that. But there's also a good segment of the population that feel like Mike Ditka are people. There's a lot of people that dislike him. So I'm interested to see how the poll lines up. And maybe now that I know that Rob's coming after me, maybe I drop a little bit of Mike Ditka political leanings into the chat and into the Twitters and see what people think of that. So if we're playing 30, we might have to get 30.
Well, I mean, I have some people out there on my side, though. A lot of people on my side, and there's one gentleman who is on my side way more than others. But I'm actually going to group them a little bit together, and I'm going to go a little bit outside the box here at 2.1. All right, you guys, when I talked about Mike Ditka, I feel like this collective represents the Chicago Bears and has created this fandom more than anything else out there. And that is Bill Swirsky's SNL Superfans. And that's where I'm going there at number 4, or 5th overall, first in the second round. Look, I mean, the Bears, Hurricane Ditka, I mean, the whole thing, the sausage, the fact that they had Peyton Manning come on and do that commercial back in 2018, I think. It was look, they turned him into a super fan, right? I mean, this is like the reason I think that this team is national, or not national, international. I think that's part of the reason why they're an international collective. They travel well throughout the United States too. Like, when I think the Bears, Mike Ditka, super fans, they just go hand in hand.
I love the pick, Rob. I did have them on my board. I do think this is a bit rich, a bit early, but I understand, wanting to take them. So a bit of a reach, but I mean, a worthy pick. When you talk about things, again, synonymous with the franchise, you go all over the world, and what do they say? Dub Bears, Ditka, like it's all part of the franchise history. It's all part of the story, history of the Bears. So I think it's a good pick.
I love it. I mean, I would like to, nitpick that one, but there's no way to nitpick the SNL Superfans. It's a great pick. I like the outside the box thinking. I try to do that as much as we can when we do the drafty pods with our buddy Brian S. And yeah, I don't know if it's worthy of 1-1, but bookending it with Ditka, that was a good move.
I felt like they were just that perfect pairing, like a glass of red wine with a steak. I mean, you just can't go wrong.
Now, I would argue maybe it's like Spider-Man pointing mead. You just got two of the same people.
That's just how popular they are.
All right, well, thank you for that out-of-the-box pick, because I think you left me like a true on-the-field legend. So for my second pick, I'm going to go with Gale Sayers. And so I start with Butkus. You got to go old school, like Peter said. And I don't know if he was looking at me when he said, I don't know if we're all too young to know. I'm way too young to have seen Butkus or Sayers, but that just shows you they were still legends to me. And Sayers, unfortunately, his career was cut short, but what he did in the time he was there was legendary. I'm not going to tip any other players for the future, but he kind of set a bar both at the running back position and as a specialist. He could do it all on the field. Like I said, unfortunately, he got cut short. I believe he was one of a very select few players at the time he was elected into the Hall of Fame to have been a Hall of Famer without ever making the postseason. So, unfortunately, you play in Chicago. Sometimes team success isn't there. And then let's also throw in the fact that he was a main part of the Brian Piccolo story, which is also another way that his story and the story of Brian Piccolo has gone on through time. So, really happy that I got him in the second round.
Can't complain about that one. I mean, if it wasn't for the knees, I think he would have been even better. I mean, Hall of Famer, you have two positions locked in there at running back and returner, like amazing to watch on the screen, on film. And the whole, like you said, the Brian Piccolo story, I mean, that was another thing. I mean, I watched that when I was young, probably like 15. Like, that hit hard watching that movie. Probably one of those movies, one of the first movies I think I've seen where like I might have like shed tears just because that's just how strong of a story it was. The brotherhood, the all that they had to go through with racism, and incredible. So I can't complain with that pick. I just think mine was better.
Let me hop in. Sorry, I should have said this in my first thing. So I said his career was cut short. His rookie season, 22 touchdowns, 14 rushing, 6 receiving, 1 punt return, 1 kick return. Did it all. Sorry, Go Bob, go Peter.
No, it's a perfect pick. I had him in my top 5, and it's crazy to think like what could have been when we're talking about a Pro Bowl player and like an all-time great, but it's still like the injuries cut him short, and it's like what could have been. But yeah, Brian song, obviously one of the best bro cry movies out there. I saw a list that somebody was saying that it was voted the best made for TV movie of all time. It was such a good made for TV movie that they ended up releasing it in theaters. So it's like you never see that. I mean, now with Netflix, it's kind of different, but yeah, I mean, take the movie away from it, like on the field, like you see the highlights, and obviously like they're older, it's older tape, but like the athleticism still stands out tremendously.
Yeah, you watch those highlights. He's an older player, but he looks like he could be a modern NFL athlete out there. Like it's unbelievable. And the shame of it is like, what if he had some modern medicine? Could have he extended his career and played a little bit longer, right? Like it's really a shame. And Justin, like you said, great running back, great returner. This kind of leads right into my pick. Upstairs definitely laid the groundwork, but I got two GOATs on my board now: greatest running back of all time, and now the greatest returner of all time, Devin Hester. You are ridiculous. You're on my team now. You delivered the single greatest moment in Chicago sports history, I believe, by returning the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl for a touchdown. Just from day one, the guy was electric. And I'm just ecstatic to get him at this part of the draft.
I let you have him, Bob, because I don't know if it's your only Bears jersey, but I can picture you in your Hester jersey. Oh, there it is. Official with the Super Bowl patch.
Right.
So I had to let you get him. But I love that you just hear that Crank That Soldier Boy song and you just think of Devin Hester about to wreak havoc on whoever. They might as well just kick it out of bounds, which was the smart move. That's how potent he was. So great pick.
Yeah. When I think of Devin Hester, I think of that Super Bowl kickoff return. And realistically, I don't have many moments in my sports fandom besides the 90s Bulls when I was a kid. But like as a grown adult, that moment when he ran that back, and that was realistically the first moment that I was like, oh, maybe the Bears can do this, right? Because Peyton Manning and the Colts and everyone was like, I mean, they're a great team and the Bears defense was great. But when Devin Hester starts the Super Bowl like that, just a little like light bulb hit, and like, oh my God, just the hope that he brought during that game. And every time he touched the ball, to tell you the truth, every time he touched the ball, it was electric. I love that pick.
Since everyone loves it, I feel like I have to find one negative. That's just like kind of my role here tonight.
You're playing the heel very well, by the way.
That's right. Let's hear it.
Look, I love Devin Hester, and like I agree with Justin, and he brought up Soldier Boy, and that's where I was going to go with it. I wasn't going to go negative. Like just being at the games, like hearing that song come on, I mean, it was electric. It was definitely electric. But Soldier Boy, like he was like kind of like a one-hit wonder. Didn't really do much after that. And Devin Hester tried to be a wide receiver one. That didn't amount to anything. He couldn't be a corner. So he might be the best returner in the NFL, but I mean, what is that done for them as a team, as a franchise? Not enough in my opinion.
Was anybody we're drafting today done for the Bears?
Yeah. 100%.
All right, Peter.
All right. So the draft is falling interesting. There was in my strategy, I didn't think Gale Sayers was going to fall to number 8 pick now. But I thought I would be able to do what you guys kind of bookend. I was like, oh, Gale Sayers was a returner, and then Devin Hester was a returner. So I was going to do that. And now that strategy is out the window. But I'm happy it is out the window because now I get to pick my favorite player that I was able to watch with my 2 eyes. And it's Brian Urlacher. We talk about returners. He was a returner in college. He was electric for his size. And that's what I remember him as a Bear. It was like he was so fast and he was just so aggressive. And he just was always at the right place at the right time. His instincts. And it's everything we think as like a Bears linebacker should be, right? I mean, we'll talk about others. But, in my lifetime, he's probably the best Bear that has played.
Yeah, on the field, just an absolute stud. I mean, we've been doing these shorts. I mean, he's in the leader. I think second most interceptions in Bears history since 2000. I think third in sacks. So I mean, he just did it all. He was everywhere. Just a freak athlete and just so much fun to watch dominate.
I don't know. The end of his career was not great. I felt like he should have retired a year or two early. Watching him get juked out by Tom Brady. Like,
come on, Rob.
This guy just is not worthy of a second round pick. I'm sorry.
We could do this the end of their career for a lot of these guys. We're gonna talk trash about Gale Sayers' broken knees. Like, what are we doing? They're older now. The Brady.
I'm coming at everybody.
I will agree that the Brady and the Jerome Bettis juke is like both inseared in my brain as like that was bad. But I mean, the good outweighs the bad so much.
100%.
Brian Urlacher, so.
The Bears are who we thought they were. Game. He had 22 tackles or something like that. Now I used to debate: did he make all those tackles? Was he getting a few, extra ones just because of being Urlacher? But like you said, Peter, he was all over the field, so you had to credit him with a whole bunch of things and. Forcing fumbles, interceptions, returns for touchdowns. Very amazing player on the field.
Yeah. We're gonna keep it on the field.
We'll leave it there.
Rob could threaten me with what I threatened him with Ditka, so maybe we won't talk about that.
Yeah. All right, I had him at 5, so I can't I'm giving you credit.
And you picked 5th, so.
Oh, 5th overall. So this is good value. This is good value as
great value. You do great value for sure.
All right, I like that. And now the board is wide open. There's still so many good players. I think I have to go back-to-back defensive players, and even though we're not tipping picks and there's some really, really good defensive players on the board, I think I'm going Samurai Mike. Mike Singletary, only because I just talked about the aggressiveness. And I mean, he looked like a man possessed whenever he played. And that intensity, exactly, those eyes looking at you at the line of scrimmage. I mean, he put the fear of God into people. And when we think Bears, we predominantly think defense. Now, we're not going to talk about, Ben Johnson in the future. Maybe that changes, hopefully. But for now, I think it's going to be a very defense-heavy, draft. And I'm happy I got both Singletary and Urlacher.
Like you said, a lot of guys come to mind and potentially are good picks. But with a nickname like Samurai, I mean, that has to just tip the scale ever so slightly. So I think it's a great pick. If you can imitate a guy just with your face, just those eyes alone, and players were intimidated, even though he wasn't like the largest guy, but
right.
Goes with that tradition of linebackers in the Bears. You can't name a whole bunch and not get to Singletary. So
I feel like the fact that you have 2 linebackers kind of makes your list a little weaker. But then also, besides those eyes, the other thing that
we're all gonna have 2 linebackers. Look at
as long as Rob doesn't win this thing, I think the 3 of us are fine here.
The other thing I think of, though, has nothing to do with the Bears. When I think of Singletary, I think of him when he was coaching the 49ers and he's having that speech in the locker room and he just pulls his pants down.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if I could have that on my team.
So Rob, you critique Peter for having 2 linebackers. You have 0 players. Well, actually, I'll give you Dick.
That's how bad this organization has been.
I'll give you Dick as a player.
Yeah. I love the Samurai Mike, and I love your board, Peter. I think you got, the franchise icon and then 2 of the most iconic players in the most iconic position of Bears history. So I think that's the way to do it. And I almost remember Singletary more just because of my age, but I remember him more as San Francisco coach.
Yeah.
And going off on Vernon Davis in the press conference as well. That's always fun too. So now that closed out a tier for me. So now everything's wide open. So I don't even necessarily know where I'm going to go here. I think I'm just going to take who is still, I think, the best player on the board, and that is Richard Dent. Mm-hmm. The little bit, we're all just a little bit too young to really know his career. But I know, I'm sure some of you guys watching this know exactly how good Richard Dent was year in and year out, 10, 12, 15 sacks. I believe when he retired, he was third all-time in career sacks, just an absolute monster. So this is my first guy who's not necessarily a good GOAT, but he's certainly the best defensive end in Chicago Bears history, synonymous with those 80s teams, and really happy to add him to the squad here.
Great pick, Bob. I was hoping I'd get him with my pick. I think just to add on to what you said there, to win a Super Bowl MVP as a defender is rarefied air, and he did that with the 85 Bears. And the Super Bowl shuffle. I mean, awesome thing for so many players, but he was the one that the ref had to actually blow the whistle on a couple times. And so he even stood out in the Super Bowl shuffle. Great pick. Rob, what do you have to say about how bad it was?
Yeah, let me give Richard Dent some flowers before Rob nitpicks him real quick. When we listen to Ryan Poles talk, he talks about like being a multiplier, right? And that's what Richard Dent was. He's a multiplier. He makes everyone's job easier just because he's so dominant. And realistically, Richard Dent and Singletary, who I was like going back and forth on, and I picked Mike Singletary only because he felt like more of a persona, if you will. But Richard Dent just went about his business and did everything the right way, and it was an absolute force. So yeah, he was awesome.
That's the only thing negative I have about him is like he just didn't have a persona. Like honestly, when I put my list together, I forgot about him. Like I had to go back and add him because I forgot about him just because he didn't have that like charisma that like came off that like stuck with me throughout the years. But then we go back and we do these shorts, and like every time we talk about sacks, it's like Richard Dent, and it's unbelievable what he did. Like I just don't remember it because, like Bob, you alluded to, we weren't old enough. Like 83 was when I was born. Like sure, I was 2 when they won the Super Bowl. I was alive, but I don't remember it.
Same.
All right. So I'm gonna take a swerve here. So my first 2 picks are guys I never got to lay eyes on in real action. Of course, we see them in the old footage with Butkus and Sayers. But now I get to take a player I saw, I experienced, and I loved as a Bears fan. I'm going to go with Matt Forte. And, okay, eyebrows go up. But if you look at his career, we don't know if he'll make it to the Hall of Fame, but he damn sure should be in the Bears Hall of Fame. He did it all. And as started right away his rookie year, set all sorts of Bears rookie records, and was consistent throughout. Even could be seen as one of the best receivers the Bears have had, and he did that out of the backfield. And I could go on and on about all sorts of things statistically, but I think what really tips the scale of anyone we've named so far, he is the only one to have been on the Halas Huddle. So
there you go. Wow, why didn't I think of that?
That is their
the trump card right there. There you go.
Friend of the program.
I dare you, Rob, to have something bad to say about him now.
I had so much bad to say about this pick, but now I can't.
Let's hear it.
I didn't have him on my list, but he's literally one of my favorite players of all time.
Wow.
He belongs.
I can't wait to get to honorable mentions, Rob.
Yeah. Wow. I'm intrigued now because I definitely had him on my list. When we think of Bears running backs, right, there's S tier, and they've already been drafted. But I would have been really happy with Matt Forte on my board. Yeah, he's the best running back that I've laid eyes on in a Bears uniform. We talk about his running, but like you mentioned, the receiving was there. Like I think it's like 7th or he's got a stat out there where he leads the Bear in receptions, right? Like he's like 7th all time in receptions as a running back. It's crazy.
I mean, he held the NFL record at one time with 102 catches, so wouldn't be surprised if he's 7th.
Career receptions as a running back. So
yeah, that's a lot. And I almost took Forte instead of Dent. So I mean, I like the pick. I think that's the right spot in the draft for him. It's just a great player.
Like you said, Bob, it's the tier of I don't know.
Right. So just take who you like.
Take who's been on the Halas Huddle. That's how I look at it.
All right, I'm on the clock, and I'm going outside the box again.
No,
I like it.
Again, I am not going to have a player on my board. My pick is something that a lot of younger fans have no clue even existed. But it's something that this team, it's something that every fan should understand, because what happened was these ladies were removed from the sideline thanks to Virginia McCaskey and Halas dying, and they couldn't get them out of there until 1985 because of their contract. But it's the Honey Bears. And look, the reason I'm going with the Honey Bears, the Chicago Bears haven't done shit since 1985. Had they not got rid of these people, right, we probably would have had 25 Super Bowls.
At least.
25.
Yeah, so, all right, Rob, I don't necessarily think you're wrong in anything you said there, except maybe 25 Super Bowls. Let's slap it like 11.
We don't know.
Maybe
We don't know. We don't know.
So I did consider putting them on my list, but they did not make my board, but they did cross my mind. So I guess I'll give you that. But, I mean, I don't think anybody thinks Chicago Bears, Honey Bears, like they're not.
I don't know.
You would be shocked. Yeah, you would be shocked.
Chicago Bears, but the other way around, like I just, there's certainly not.
I literally grew up hearing my dad say they never should have got rid of the Honey Bears.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact the Honey Bears were gotten rid of, we would have won Super Bowl. I've listened to my dad, and he's like your typical Facebook group Bears fan.
I know the Cubs fans blamed a goat for 100 years of not winning the World Series. So I guess 25 years of not winning the Super Bowl can be blamed on not having cheerleaders. So.
Okay, perfect example. Would you have not had a goat if this was the Chicago Cubs franchise icons? Like, I feel like a goat would have been somewhere in our group.
I've never heard of the curse of the Honey Bears, but if that's something we're coining now, okay.
Oh no, it's there. There is a very specific segment of 670 The Score Callers that are gonna love this draft pick.
I don't know if they listen to our show, but I hope they do.
There is definitely a curse of the Honey Bear. You hear it, you see it. A lot of it is obviously the Bears fans in general, and I'm counting present company included, are very meatheadish, right? We're proudly meatheads. And there's nothing more meathead than the Honey Bears and bring them back, because that's the last piece of the puzzle. But like Eli Manning, I am not superstitious, but just a little stitious. So I believe in the Honey Bears curse. I think Kevin Warren, the last piece of the puzzle for this whole Bears rebuild to happen is, we got Ben Johnson, we got Caleb Williams, we're getting a new stadium. The last piece of the puzzle is the Honey Bears, and then we're cooking with gas. So I would like to nitpick it, but it's a great pick, Rob.
You're too nice, Peter. You're too nice.
So the one thing we can do is nitpick that I took it in the third round. I really had this as a fourth round pick, but I did it just to keep the trend going of not having any players on my list. So now with the turn, I am going to go with the other. Man, I'm stuck in this 1985 punky era, and I'm going with, in my opinion, the best quarterback to ever play for this team in Jim McMahon. And I mean, you got the headband, you just got the attitude, you got look, my team's not going to get along. Ditka and McMahon were not friends, right? Like, constantly McMahon would go out there and do whatever he wanted. Pissed Ditka off. So, this is the closest to being really good quarterback that fans can think of, I feel like, outside of Sid Luckman, and won a Super Bowl. So I'm sticking with that 1985 era.
It's a great pick, Rob. I mean, we talk about icon, legend. Jim McMahon is synonymous with the Bears. I mean, who else wins a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers and wears Bears gear to the White House, right? A Bears legend, a Bears icon. The Honey Bears, whatever. This might be the steal of the draft. Great pick, Rob.
Yeah, and I do follow him, and he follows me back. I'm sure he does you too, Peter, on Twitter.
I think he follows everyone, which is appreciated. That's an easy way to get some votes. I like that. The only argument to be made here is that of the 85 Bears that are still left on the board, I don't think he just pound for pound, I don't think he cracks the top 10, maybe. So he's the best arguably the best Bears quarterback of all time. I had another quarterback on my list. I didn't have Jim McMahon on my list, but you can't, the Roselle headband and the sunglasses and everything else. When we're thinking iconic, though, almost the off the field stuff is just as iconic as the on the field product. But yeah, you can't take away that Super Bowl. That Super Bowl is what cements you as a Bears icon.
He's probably the closest thing to Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, that's a good comp. Although you mentioned like he wouldn't get along on your team with Ditka, but he would probably get along very well with the Honey Bears. So
that's true.
That might have been one of the other problems. So
yeah,
not specifically with him, but okay. Well, I think recognition-wise, you put their face on, like Bob said, like a Mount Rushmore. I don't know if the guy I'm about to say would like have that recognition right away, but I'm looking at this as I got some of the best players that have ever played for the Bears. We went in the old school era, and we're coming back towards the modern era. I had offense, defense of the legend era, and I have offense, defense here. I can say one word, one food, and you'll know who my guy is. Peanut.
Yep.
It's Charles Tillman. Charles Tillman, it's like, Bob, when you started to say some of the numbers, I was like astonished by them. 38 career interceptions is quite a lot. And then that doesn't even bring in the reason he's Peanut with the peanut punch. And so you look at how many times he, as a defender, changed the game, which is hard to do. And just a leader, a great player, a great dude, and then goes after his career and starts working for the FBI. That's crazy to me. And that puts him in another category altogether. So I'm going with Charles Tillman, one of my favorite players of the more recent eras. What do you guys got?
I thought he was going to fall to me. I love Peanut Tillman. I mean, when we talk about players that changed the game, he changed the game. I mean, the peanut punch is a viable way to force a fumble now, and everyone's teaching it. Everyone's doing it. And I don't remember anyone doing it before Peanut Tillman. Yeah, he was so good, so professional. And then when we talk about franchise icons, and we see this a lot with the White Sox and the Blackhawks, the Bears, and the alumni, right? And people that they bring back for games and everything else. He is a awesome charter alumni for the Bears. Everything he does off the field, all the things he does with the hospitals and the public workers. It's just he's the perfect icon.
I just looked it up. On top of those 38 interceptions, 44 forced fumbles.
That's unbelievable.
44. 10 in one season in 2012. Incredible.
I actually have nothing bad to say about this pick because I was between Jim McMahon and Charles Peanut Tillman.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, so I've had access to season tickets with my dad since 2001 or no, 2000, year 2000. And I've been to many, many, many games. There is nothing more that stands out to me than watching Charles Tillman high point the ball and intercepting in front of Randy Moss to win a game. I don't remember what year it was. I couldn't tell you, but that play itself, it was unbelievable. The whole stadium erupted. Yeah, the fact that they literally talk about the peanut punch, any time that happens in any game, every single announcer knows what it is. That in itself makes him an icon for this team.
Yeah, it's a great. When my eyebrows raised when you picked Forte in the early rounds, because I was expecting you to take Tillman in the third round. It's just he's just that guy for us, our era. He did everything the right way. He played on the field great. He's just a stud. I'm going to keep rambling until I figure out who I want to take here because
Justin took your pick. You got
wide open. It would have been an easy pick for me here, but now there's a guy who definitely needs to be drafted. And then, I kind of want to make a little pick like Rob outside the box, and then there's just some other ones. So
tough. How do you round it out?
Just out of respect for the man, I'm going to make sure he's going to get drafted. I didn't want to go 285 Bears heavy, but there's really no way around it. It's going to be Steve Mongo McMichael, the guy.
That was my pick.
Was it? All right, say maybe I should have left it in the hope that you would have took him. But
No. That's how you play the draft. That's the move.
When you talk about, when you think of Steve McMichael, you think of the Bears, right? He embodies what it was to be a Bear. Loved being a monster. Personality plus guy, just a great human being. I mean, he's got a little bit of a wild side, but genuinely a good person otherwise. And all the other media stuff and the WWE, WWF stuff, like everything that he did was just, iconic. The guy's a legend.
Yeah, obviously the on the field stuff speaks for itself, but we talk about, these larger than life characters. No one was more larger than life than Mongo. I'm a wrestling fan. He's a member of the Four Horsemen. You can throw the fours up there. He was awesome there. I remember him. I'm not even a Cubs fan, but him getting kicked out of a game while singing the 7th inning stretch for arguing with the ump. That's iconic. Like that's unbelievable. And then, I wasn't 21 at the time, but I knew he had the bar out in Romeoville. My uncles would go there and he would just be hanging out. He would talk to everyone. Like he was just, a member of the community. It's a great pick. That was going to be my last pick.
It's a great pick. It's sad to see how his life ended, but even in that, how much strength he showed, and how many people, just got to be able to explain how much he meant to them. I know actually, Walter Payton obviously died young, and his son Jared Payton was really McMichael really helped be kind of like a father-like figure for him, knowing that his dad passed early. And so to see him also get in the Hall of Fame while he was still alive was really wonderful. Awesome pick, Bob. I'm glad he was picked in this draft.
What do you got bad to say about this one?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I kind of do. I'm sorry. At one point, I think he was either the coach or the owner or something of a Division II Arena League team that played at the Sears Center. Mm-hmm. The Sharks, I think they were called, or something like that. If I recall, they were a very, very poor team, just not good in the league. Clearly, he was outclassed at that point in his lifetime, but I can't say anything bad about Steve McMichael. The guy is he's the true statement of someone who bled blue and orange. Like the guy just bled Chicago Bears. Everything on the field, everything off the field. He's the defensive version of Jim McMahon, basically. Like that. If there was another guy who I would have said was maybe close to being like Rodman, it would have been him. Just the guy who, was in the storylines, but not always for the right reasons, but for the fun reasons.
I definitely thought you were going to bring up the fact that he played for the Packers. I thought that's where
you're I mean, that was a similarity too, I guess, but he didn't. I don't think he ever won a Super Bowl with them. So
I don't believe so.
And he definitely didn't wear a Bears jersey to the White House. I'm curious to see where you go now to finish this out, Peter.
Yeah. So we're only doing 4 rounds. I kind of want to go outside the box. There's still some players that definitely should be drafted. I know there's going to be some commenters. There's some people that are going to be like, I can't believe this person or this person didn't get drafted. I'm looking at 2, but I'm going to pick someone. Now might be where I lose the draft, to tell you the truth, but I'm going to pick somebody thinking outside of the box, someone that has done more with less than any Chicago Bear in our lifetime. But when you think of franchise icons,
Justin Fields.
This guy is get out of here. This guy is an icon, not necessarily for the Bears franchise, but for ESPN 1000. I'm picking Tom Waddle.
Oh, that's a great pick.
I was going to take Tom Waddle if I did. We definitely could have. And I think you would have won the draft with Mongo McMichael on your board. But I love the Tom Waddle pick. I mean, everything you said. I mean, he's synonymous with the Bears. More with less. When I was an 11 years old Bears fan, I didn't know that he kind of sucked.
Yeah, no, I love Tom Waddle as a kid.
8 balls. I thought he was one of our best players, and then you see oh, okay, and then he's just awesome in the media. Everything that he does, how he's just just gets along with everybody. Always seems to have the right take on stuff. The man himself is a legend, and then he's so associated with the Bears. I'm glad that he got drafted because, like I said, he was going to be my pick if I went outside the box. But I guess I played a little safe. But I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And like from like what I do with work, I'm always just consuming media while I'm working because I have nothing else to do. It's either the Score or your guys' podcast or ESPN 1000. But I grew up with Tom Waddle as a Bears wide receiver, and then I just literally grown up listening to him talk on the radio with Sylvie and everyone else. And you're right. Not only football, the man could talk baseball. The man could he always seems to be on the right side of a take, right? He's not a blowhard. He's not going to say something just to say something, but it's always either like poignant or actually like insightful. So when like we think about less with more, like obviously his football career wasn't all that great, but his career in general is something like we'd all eat up. Like, yeah, I'd take Tom Waddle's career in a heartbeat.
Well, and he embraces it too, like he's not going to tell you he was, God's gift to receiving, but he played in the league, made a name for himself. And like you said, has continued on that well past his playing career. So I didn't think about it until you said it, but I really like that pick.
I'm mad that it wasn't on my list. Like that would have been like the perfect pairing for me. Granted, he was a player. But like to go the outside the box thinking, like I'm very disappointed that I didn't have him there. When I think of him, you hear, and they play it all the time on 670 The Score, but the clip of John Madden, talking about the smelling salts, right? Yeah. Like he just takes a hit and keeps on getting up, right? Like I don't know if I would promote that and be happy about seeing guys do that now in today's NFL, but back then I think it was a little bit more accepted. Waddle's world, there's just so many things that I think of as him from a broadcasting standpoint. And like you said, how long has he been on the radio? We grew up, based on our ages, we grew up listening to him. To me, it was him and Jeff Dickerson,
20 years plus, I believe.
That'd be 20, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to WGN for a while before he went to ESPN 1000. So, he's been doing it for a long time.
And I would seek certain guys out, and he was one of them. Jeff Dickerson was another one. Yeah. Those were guys that I would seek out whenever they were on the radio, or on TV with WGN too, and the radio stuff too. But he would also, I think, do stuff with their sports broadcast in the morning, right? So, yeah, great pick. Way to end it, actually.
Yeah,
thank you.
But I was glad, Bob, that you took Mongo because if he didn't get drafted,
he needed to get drafted. So it is what it is. I'm glad Peter would have picked up the slack there.
Yeah.
But, all right, Halas Huddlers, this was a lot of fun. All right. We're not done yet, though. We're going to go through our rosters, and you need to vote for the winner in the comments. Let us know who you think is going to win, and we're going to do this again. So at the start of the next time we do this snake draft, we'll announce the winner of this one. But I'm just going to go through and read off the rosters. All right. So Peter had George Halas, Brian Urlacher, Mike Singletary, Tom Waddle. Bob had Walter Payton, Devin Hester, Richard Dent, Steve McMichael. Justin had Dick Butkus, Gail Sayers, Matt Forte, Charles Tillman, and Rob had Mike Ditka, SNL Superfans, the Honey Bears, and Jim McMahon. So, all right, let us know who won. Before we finish, though, let's do some honorable mentions. This is always a fun part of the show. So, who wants to kick off with, just real quick, who's left on your list?
I feel like I should go last.
All right. I got a decent list. Should we go one by one or just rattle them all off?
Just list off your whatever you got left.
The big name that we left off that I thought commenters are going to be talking about is Dan Hampton. I feel like Dan Hampton probably could have been drafted and should have been drafted. That was the biggest name on the board.
I think he gets too much credit. Unfortunately, I'm glad Mongo got drafted over him. Look, Hampton was a really, really good player. Great player, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But, Mongo has better stats than him in a lot of areas. So, he just was the forgotten guy for the longest time. And I'm so glad they at least put him in before he passed.
So, Mongo, I think, just a little bit more synonymous with the franchise, so that legend icon status is a little higher.
Yeah. I had these guys on a separate list. And I was not going to draft them because they were from a bygone era. But all of the Bronco Nagurskis, Sid Luckmans, Red Granges, that's a different league at the time.
Just let's say their names in this episode, but really speak to them.
But the guy I really wanted to draft, and I was debating between Tom Waddle and this guy, is the best quarterback that I thought. And I've always been a defender. Again, on the field, not the stuff on the field nowadays, but it is smoking Jay Cutler. I love Jay Cutler as a Bear for all of his
more like this.
Yeah, flaws and warts. And now he's kind of lost it. But
it is funny how he's kind of reached that legendary status after his career. Now everyone kind of knows what kind of guy he actually is. And it's just like, oh man, I wish I would have known that when you were playing because I would have liked you more. It's crazy.
He did a lot of stuff with like Barstool and like that kind of opened up like a little bit of his personality, but it wasn't really like everyone thought of him as, like and I hate the thing, but it's like the body language thing is like such a meathead take again. And people just ate him up for it. But I always was a Jay Cutler defender.
I'll tell you what's funny is you say Barstool, what opened up my eyes to him. And look, I don't agree with everything he agrees with as a human being, but like, when it came to like his personality, I thought it came out on the Sylvian Wow show.
Yeah.
Like that's where I was like, oh, this guy's not like what the rest of the media perceives him as and what fans perceive him as. So throwing it right back to Tom Waddle again.
Yeah, and so I'll bookend that with the last of the media guys. And it sucks that his Bears career was so short, but I was gonna do work my way around. It's Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen, his time at the Bears was so good. It was cut short by Mike Martz. I'll never forgive him. But like Tom Waddle, he's made a name for himself, one in Carolina, but two now as a broadcaster, as a play-by-play, as a color guy. I think he's the best color guy at Fox. And obviously you give Brady all that money. And he's been very vocal about like, I deserve that number one spot. I like Greg Olsen as a media personality so much that I thought he should get like mentioned in this.
Yeah, for sure. And so my first honorable mention is also still in the media, and it's Jeff Joniak. Like, I think everything he does for the Bears
on my list.
Is just like synonymous with everything that gets put out there. The Devin Hester, you're ridiculous, is the first thing that comes to mind, but it's everything he does. And then two other, there's Lovie Smith. I just don't necessarily know he did enough truly to be a top 16, but I just think that what he did for the team as a Bears coach and as a Texans coach is worth bringing up. And then Buddy Ryan, he's probably really what made the 80s work. So
you just took two of mine. I had Lovie Smith and Buddy Ryan because I went all players, but those are two coaches. I mean, you're a coordinator and you get carried off the field for a Super Bowl. That's pretty. I mean, it speaks to how off the dynamics of the team were. But I put him on there. And then this is an out of the box one. Only people around our age will know. But if you played Tecmo Bowl, obviously Bo Jackson was just unstoppable. But have you seen Neil Anderson on Tecmo Bowl?
Yeah.
I mean, and he was like the first running back I remember.
Is the pick Neil Anderson or Tecmo Bowl Neil Anderson?
Tecmo Bowl Neil Anderson.
Yeah, there you go. Had we had a fifth round, there was Justin's pick.
And the
right, Rob, let's hear it.
I'm so glad, though, Bob, that you had Jeff Joniak. He was 13th on my list.
Oh, wow.
I almost got him into like the number to draft him at. So he was definitely in that round. And I also had Tom Thayer, way lower, but I also had Tom Thayer. I felt like it was a good honorable mention, though, because those two have been paired up forever, it feels like. So had I not gotten Mike Ditka, I was going to try to sneak in Ditka's mustache on its own.
I like that.
If that was an option.
You ended up getting the whole package.
Yeah, I ended up getting, and I also had the sweater vest, so that was two things there outside of the box. I did have Staley Bear, but he was way down the list as well. Virginia McCaskey, to live 102 years, ruin a franchise. She's fantastic and definitely should be a franchise icon. What else did I have here?
I thought you were going Staley when you were leading into the Honey Bears at first, but I didn't want to say anything in case someone else was thinking.
Hey, I will say I got a cheese sandwich from him one time when I was at the stadium because they throw him out during Packers games. He didn't make the higher that list because that freaking sandwich was stale as shit. Okay, like the bread was just awful. Soldier Field itself was on my list. I feel like with everything that's going on with Arlington Heights and everyone who's saying like, look, it needs to be in the city, it needs to stay at Soldier Field. So I thought that was a good option. And then this one was way outside the box. I don't feel like he's a franchise icon per se. He has been in 2 episodes of the schedule release, not where you think I'm going though, Justin. It's not Jake Johnson. It is not Julius Pepperwood. It is Anthony Spice Adams. And I feel like he has just kind of like became this persona, but I don't think people actually know he played for the Chicago Bears. So
it's good.
Yeah, Spice is a good one. He's a good personality. I thought about putting Seth Rollins on this list because now he's become
bias.
but he's become like the Bears super fan of like the celebrity.
Or who's the comedian from Entourage?
Piven?
Jeremy Piven?
Jeremy Piven. He's a huge Bears fan. Yeah.
There's a couple of
Bill
them.
Murray.
Yeah, Bill Murray. I think
you guys are starting another draft, I think.
Yeah,
last one.
Celebrity Bears fans draft. No tipping picks. But
last honorable mention.
No, I'm sorry.
Bill Murray, the player or the fan?
The last honorable mention I have is, and I didn't have it on my list until Justin, you mentioned it, and I'm surprised no one picked up on it. The Super Bowl shuffle itself.
Yes. Oh, I almost said the same thing.
I thought about it after you had mentioned it, and I'm like, ooh, should I draft the Super Bowl shuffle? But that probably could have gotten drafted.
Oh yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. I had it on VHS. I watched it continuously. I also watched, what was the dancing thing that Walter Payton was always on it was the same channel as WGN. It was Channel 9. No one knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, it was literally like they would play live music.
On a high note with the Super Bowl shuffle, but
I'm gonna look it up
in the comments where the Halas Huddlers will
Someone tell me what show he was on that he would dance. Like it was live dancing.
Okay. All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this first snake draft. We're going to have a lot of fun in the upcoming weeks doing this more and more. Hope everybody who lasted this long enjoyed it as well. All right.
Vote for me.
All right.
Bear down.
Claws up.
Claws up.
I can't find the button.
Ready, break.